Okay, so I'm going to be talking about my final project, which covered emotions in decision making. Firstly, why did I choose this topic? I thought that it connected both psychology and neuroscience under one topic. And then another aspect was my interest in artificial intelligence and what that can provide in terms of, artificial intelligence understanding emotions and what goes into its decision making and that whole process. Like I said, important in future career. Um, and then yeah, in personal life and a better understanding of human behavior, of my own decision making, and how I allow emotions to connect everything. What are emotions in decision making? Basically, any emotions that kind of influence the decision that you're making in any given scenario. It involves a lot of logical and emotional brain processes. It's not just one or the other. Even if you think you're making a purely logical decision, there's always some emotional part. Um, and yeah, healthy decision making requires understanding both your emotional and logical side and kind of blending those two together. So the brain and emotion, how it actually works. So the amygdala processes emotional significance. The prefrontal cortex evaluates options and consequences. The orbitofrontal cortex combines emotion with reasoning, and the brain regions function together during decision making. So those three parts of the brain are essentially what combines together to give yourself emotion, which is then used in the decision making process as one aspect of that. Like we said before, it's not the entire process. There's also a more logical side of it. Um, but obviously, we know emotions is a huge component of how people make decisions in day to day life. So the research findings that I kind of looked into kind of showed that emotions can definitely improve um, decision quality. Specifically, what that means is having your emotions under control. And, emotions can help in different scenarios where you need to make the right judgment. And you may not think about the emotions that you're feeling. Like if you see someone fall, obviously you have an emotion of, I need to help them. And that's a decision that, like, consciously as humans, we're kind of, I don't want to say programmed, but almost programmed to do. Like you see someone fall, it's like, oh, let me help you up. Instead of just you see them fall, you process no emotion and you just keep walking. Um, and so, yeah, these type of emotional experiences, like that was kind of just as an example, was kind of ingrained in you as a child. And then over time, when you see stuff like that, you can react faster. Not everyone reacts the same to everything. Every human is different, obviously, and different emotions influence different types of decisions. Obviously, there's more emotions than just seeing someone fall. It could be sad, angry, happy. All of those can influence decisions differently, and then context as well. Kind of what I was talking about as well. So what happens when emotion is damaged? Um, so brain injuries such as a concussion can definitely disrupt emotional processing. Um, I remember I had a pretty bad concussion in high school, and I definitely noticed that my emotions would go back and forth. I think I was very, like, irritable when I had a concussion, so I'd kinda go through huge mood swings of, like, being super happy, and then at, like, any small thing would really upset me, and it was, like, really scary and interesting kind of looking at it now and understanding more of that process and why those things were happening, to me when I had, uh, that brain injury. And like it says, logical reasoning alone is often sufficient. Basically, even if your brain is damaged, like I had a concussion, logically I can understand like things to do, but the emotions didn't always match with what was kind of ingrained in me in those logical actions, and that's what was really um, odd, I'll say. So how does this affect daily life? Obviously, everyone's different. You're going to have so many decisions throughout your life. You're not going to always make the right one. I think that's an important thing to, um, understand. I don't think you should be too emotionally connected to every decision, just as you shouldn't be logically thinking about every single decision in your daily life. I think there's a steady balance. Obviously, these are some examples, but as you know, every single day you're making probably 1,000 decisions subconsciously. And obviously, some are more important than others, but I think it's important to, take it one day at a time and treat every decision not the same, but think about them individually, I guess, the ones that you're thinking of. Effects on cognition. Yeah, this is some of the things we talked about. I talked about a bit with concussion when they're not really connected or synced, or when you're thinking about something too logically or using too much emotion in decision making. Obviously, you can have impairments on attention, memory, learning. I'm sure we've all gotten upset before. Memory is definitely short sighted when that happens. um, as well as risk assessment. There's just multiple scenarios where that could be come into play. Then problem solving, and that can apply not just to like a math problem. That could just be any situation. I was building a bed frame on the other day, and it was thoroughly annoying. And I can tell you the problem solving was definitely more challenging. So those are just different ways that emotions can kind of impact your ability to um, go through certain situations. I thought this was an important thing to connect to my major. So my major was data science, kind of specifically focusing with artificial intelligence. Obviously, it's a huge deal right now. Artificial intelligence doesn't really have emotion, or does it? Kind of how we model emotion is something that certainly right now we're not even close to being able to understand. Human emotion is different for every single person. I don't think any two people are the same. So how can you really program an AI? Um, but I think part of it can rely on understanding human choices and why, as a population, a majority of humans make certain choices over others. And then, yeah, emotion can influence data patterns. I'm sure there's a ton of data out there about certain scenarios where emotion can come into play. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting point to add. And what did I learn? Like I said about my concussion, I thought that was the most interesting part I really noticed. Um, and I'm going a bit long here, but yeah, logic and emotion, the brain regions was super interesting to kind of understand and how they all actually work together, not as just individuals when you're kind of processing those emotions and factoring them into your decision making. And they all kind of play an equal part without dominating over each other. And then, always evolving research seems like kind of the research I did look at. There's new stuff every day, a lot of it surrounding AI these days. Obviously, psychology and stuff like that about emotions is fairly new, the 20th and 21st century. And so it's been really interesting to kind of dive deeper into that and have a better understanding overall. So thank you.